Hey guys, Joel with the Rhode Island Chess School here. If you like this video, please hit the like button down below. And if you want to get better at chess, we're going to give you a way. Hit that subscribe button down below. Today we're going to take a look at some problem solving in chess. And hopefully, this is something that could help all levels of chess players. And I want to just go into sort of some of the thinking as to how we go about trying to solve these problems. And hopefully we can improve our tactical ability and awareness. So we'll just run through a series of problems here on lichess.org. They have this really great feature. You go to puzzles, and it brings up a lot of cool problems. And really, like, the more that we can do this and find the answers, really the better we're going to be at chess, and the more tactical opportunities we're going to see in our own games. So let's take a look at this first problem, and I just want to kind of start to talk about the thinking that is involved when we're looking at these problems. So first problem here, let's take a look. So the first thing that I'm looking at is, we have this rook here on h8, and that's kind of pointing towards the king. So that's sort of the first thing that I notice about this position. The second thing I sort of, quickly take a look at here is this white bishop is sort of, potentially attacking my queen in some kind of situation. So I want to be careful there. This doesn't look like it's going to be a problem where we need to find checkmate, because we don't really have that many pieces that are aiming towards the white king here. So really I'm probably looking for a way to win material, to win pieces. Now, I also sort of noticed that when I move this knight, right, this rook on d8 has a discovered attack on this bishop, so I'm starting to look at possibilities there. And another thing I'm noticing here is that this white bishop. So one of the things we start to scan when we're looking at problems is, the first thing that we look at is are any pieces undefended? That's the first thing that I'm thinking about. Now here, white actually has all of his pieces defended. This bishop is defended by the knight on c3. The bishop on d2 is defended by the rook and the queen. So, really it looks like, white has done a good job of defending his pieces. But the one thing you'll notice here is that this bishop on e2 only has one defender on the knight. So when I see those kind of situations, I'm always looking for tactical opportunities there. And actually, it looks like we have a combination here to win a piece. And it's a tricky move to find, and especially for, younger, chess players at lower levels here, and we're trying to improve. We often won't consider this move, which is to give up our queen and to sacrifice our queen. It's often a move that lower rated chess players won't even consider. But we have to start considering these moves. Not that it's always a good move, but we have to at least consider them. And that's one of the ways that we're going to get better at chess, is to consider more moves every time it is our move. So when we do a quick calculation, our queen comes and takes this knight. White has two ways to recapture, either with the bishop or the queen. And either way that white recaptures, this knight on d4 is going to capture this bishop, and it's going to be a fork between the king and the queen, whether the queen's on c3 or d2. After the king gets out of check, the knight will capture the queen in either situation, and then white will take back that knight. But what's going to happen is we're going to win this knight and this bishop, and it's only going to and the queen, and it's only going to cost us a knight and a queen to do this. So as we can see, we're going to actually win a piece for free here. Not an easy solution here for people to find. Oh, they've given us an in-between check here. We take that, and we've solved that problem. We want to start to consider queen sacrifices in these tactical positions. Not that it's always the right move, again, but we want to at least start to consider them. So here we have another problem. Not a lot of material on the board, the first thing that pops out to me in this problem is that the back rank here is totally unprotected. So I'm sort of looking at checkmate ideas. That's the first thing that pops in my head. And in fact, this looks like this is the solution. And that's the first weakness that I noticed in the white position. It turns out that that is going to be the answer to this problem. So white is, black is under a little bit of pressure here. Not a lot of pressure because our pieces are well defended. White's rook on f4 is not defended. But the answer is going to come from this back rank that is really weak. And when we slide this rook over to d8 and the queen moves, let's just say the queen moves to e7. And then take a second here and see if you can figure out what the next move for black will be. Now again, the queen doesn't have a lot of squares that they can move to after we slide this rook over. The queen can come to e7, the queen can come to b4, the queen can come to b6. 3 options, but regardless of whichever move the queen does, we still have the same move here. So the move's going to be the rook is going to come and capture, the rook is going to come and capture this bishop. And all of this is possible because of this back rank weakness. And you'll see that if white recaptures our rook, we're going to be able to checkmate right on this square with our queen. And it doesn't seem that white is going to be able to do anything about this. So again, when we're trying to solve these problems, we want to quickly try to identify weaknesses in our opponent's position, whether it's undefended pieces or a weak king. Those kind of positional weaknesses are going to be key to helping us solve these problems. So let's see. Yep. And then we capture this bishop, and white has decided to move his rook there in this problem. That's what it's saying. And it looks like we have 2 options here. We could either play rook takes rook, or I'm also looking at queen takes pawn. But I want to be sure I don't make a mistake here. So if I play queen takes pawn, it actually looks like we are the ones that might get checkmated. The queen could come to d8 check. The king could come to f6. I'm sorry, the king could go to g7. The queen could then go to f6. And all of a sudden, it might be, white's either going to perpetual check us, or we might even get mated. So really trading the rooks here is going to be the best move. And then what's going to happen is if the queen takes the rook, we're probably going to want to move the queen to d7 here and try to offer the trade of queens, because again, when you're ahead in material, one of the things you want to do is try to trade pieces. So back up a move. Black has just captured our knight onto e4 here. And okay, so the first thing that I see in this position is the black king is in a lot of trouble, right? He's in a very weak spot. There's a lot of openings. The answer to this problem could be that we just try to win material, but the first thing that I'm looking at is I'm trying to figure out if I can force checkmate. So based on that, really, white only has, 2 checks, and it only really looks like one move is a productive check. So that's the way that my brain is looking at this problem, trying to solve this problem. Clearly, we can, this knight is hanging on c4, but really the first thing when I see a king that is this undefended in this open, I am really looking for checkmates. So I'm really going to try to consider ways if I can force checkmate. So now we have to think about if the queen comes to h5. That's the first move that I'm considering here. And you'll see that in this situation, right, the black king only has one legal move. So this is already a really, really powerful situation for us. The black king's only legal move is going to be to g8 here. And then on our next move, we're going to be able to deliver checkmate. Pause the video, and if you can see if you can figure out the move real quick. Okay, hopefully you were able to figure out that we were going to be able to checkmate with this knight on f5. So let's see if we got the problem right. Good. And this knight comes to e7 here. Oh, that's not checkmate. I'm wrong there. We have one more move to finish off checkmate. I forgot that when the knight moved, it opened up this square on g7. So pause the video here, see if you can figure out the checkmate move for here. Okay, hopefully you're able to figure out that this queen steps up one square and delivers checkmate right there. Okay, so in this problem, white has just captured our pawn on e7 here. And okay, so I'm looking at this situation, and again, I'm seeing that the white king is in quite a bit of trouble here. And, you know, black is down heavy material. We're down a rook and a knight. So in this situation, either we're going to checkmate or we're going to lose the game. And here is a pretty cool checkmate pattern if you haven't seen it before. But it's going to involve a sacrifice. Pause the video for a second and see if you can figure out the moves. Okay, hopefully you were able to figure out here that you see that the white king, first of all, has no squares that it can move to. That's really like the first thing that sticks out in my mind about this position is that, you know, really if we could just give check, it could be checkmate. But even with our queen, we're not able to check anywhere. So this is a really common pattern where we sacrifice the rook, and then we bring our queen all the way over. They interpose with their queen, but that only delays us for one move. And then this is a really common checkmate here. Let's go to the next problem. See if we can figure out another one. Okay. So black has just played knight to e4. And a quick material count shows us that the material is even. So we don't really have any pieces pointing at the black king. So this is not going to be a checkmate problem. This is going to be a win material problem. And if you note, the first thing I notice here is that when I move my knight, right, I have this discovered attack from the queen onto the queen. Discovered attacks is always going to be one of the things that we consistently look for when we're trying to find answers to these problems, but also, you know, when we're actually playing chess and we're trying to figure out ways to win material. This is always going to be really powerful ways to win material. So you'll notice here that this is when I look at this problem, this is the first move that I'm considering is this knight takes knight, and I'm going to calculate what's going to happen here. And you'll notice pretty quickly that if our knight captures the knight, black cannot play bishop takes knight because our queen will be able to just capture the black queen. So really what's going to happen is that black is going to be forced to play queen takes queen probably. But the beautiful thing is that our knight's on e4, and after queen takes queen, we can simply capture back that queen with our knight. And in that sequence of moves, we're going to be able to win a piece. So in this problem, this discovered attack was really the answer to this problem. Good. Let's look at another problem here. As we noticed, black just played queen to f8. And again, we can see that the black king is in quite a bit of trouble. He has no squares that he can move to. So we're always looking for ways that we can expose this king in this situation and these kinds of checkmate patterns. See if you can figure out the moves here. Now, obviously, we don't have a lot of pieces to work with. We have this rook, this queen, we have this bishop. This knight doesn't really appear to really be helping us out in this attack. So, oops. So, black has just offered to trade queens. Now, the first move that when I'm looking at attacking possibilities, you notice from the first problem, is I'm looking at sacrificing my queen. So the way my brain's working is that's the first move that I'm considering. And it probably wasn't the first move that you guys considered. You probably looked at maybe moving the queen back or moving the rook over. But what happens when white plays queen takes pawn check? Black only has one legal move, king takes queen. And then you'll see that on the next move, we're able to slide our rook over and give check, and the king's not going to have any legal moves. Black's going to have to interpose with their queen, and then we're going to take that queen with our rook, and it's going to be checkmate. Again, this is that same sort of checkmate pattern that we just looked at a few problems ago. Okay, so the white king, I guess, was just in check from the knight. We have this fork happening. If you notice that this knight is attacking the rook. We have our queen attacking the queen here. So we have a lot of pieces that are undefended. Our queen is undefended. Okay. Our knight is currently undefended. The king is threatening to capture it. A quick material count says that the pieces are currently even. We both have 2 rooks, 2 minor pieces, and a queen. So we have to figure out the right move order here. Obviously, we cannot just play knight takes rook because white's going to take our queen. And if we retreat our queen somewhere, maybe to c4 and give check, white's going to capture our knight with his king. We would love to be able to capture this rook. So what we do is a sort of an in-between move. Before we capture the rook with our knight, we actually play queen takes queen check. And then white is forced to capture our queen, and now we're able to take the rook. All right, let's go to another problem here. So, it looks like white's in a little bit of trouble here. Black has these 2 knights, and it looks like he's going to promote on the very next move with a queen. Now, if white is going to stop this promotion, his only move is to move the rook to here. However, you'll notice that these knights can then block the rook's path to that queening pawn. Say that this knight would come to here, right? And then this rook would no longer have access to this a1 square. So that is not going to help us. But when I looked at this problem, the first thing, again, that I saw is that black's back rank is very weak, and the king has no escape squares. So if I can get the rook onto this row, we will easily checkmate the king. So if we take this knight with our rook, right? Yes, black can get a queen, but then we can come up and checkmate on this b8 square. Again, we would look for a weakness. So instead of getting checkmated, black pushed up a pawn to create a flight square for his king, and now we can simply capture this pawn that was going to queen. All right, we'll do a couple more problems here for this lesson. So black has just attacked our queen with a rook, and we'll notice that this is a pretty complicated position here. There's a lot going on. Quick material count says that white is currently down a piece. Okay, so black has an extra knight. We have 1 extra pawn. But you'll notice also that black's king looks, is exposed. Oops. Oh, black's king is exposed in the middle, in the board. We have a lot of pressure going on. The other thing that I noticed here is that this knight is pinned by this c1 rook. So that's sort of the first thing that I'm looking at, is I'm looking at that pin. So because of that, I'm always looking for pins. So if I'm looking at a problem, or if I'm playing over the board or online or whatever, I'm always looking at pins and how can I take advantage of pins. So you notice that because this knight is pinned, this knight has 1 less defender. So currently, really, this knight only has the queen defending, and we have 2 attacking. So that's the first thing that I see here. So if I'm trying to, solve this problem or find a good move for white, one of the first moves that I'm considering is what happens if I just play rook takes knight. So I need to look at that. So if I play rook takes knight, obviously black cannot just play queen takes rook because our queen would capture the queen. It would be check, and the knight couldn't capture us back on c6 because the rook's pinning the knight. Still the same situation. So that would be that would be great for white. Now the other line is rook takes knight. The black rook captures our queen on b5, and then our rook captures the queen on e6. And in that series of moves, we'll have won a knight, and so we'll be back to even material. Plus, we'll still be having pressure on this c6 knight. Let's see if that is the solution here. We got it. All right, let's move on to the next problem here. So black has just played rook takes b3. And we have to find a move for white here. So what are we noticing about the position? Well, first we have this knight that's pretty advanced into the enemy position, into the king. Looks like a pretty annoying piece. I also noticed about how we have this queen and rook battery, trying to see if there's anything with that we can make of that. Material count shows that material is even. We have these rooks that are attacking each other. And we have all three pieces here lined up on the same file. That's always something I'm sort of looking at here are those kind of situations, and to see if there's ways that we can take advantage of that. And actually in this situation, it looks like that is the answer here. Pause the video, see if you can come up with the series of moves where white is going to be able to win material here. All right, hopefully you were able to come up with this combination. But when white plays rook takes rook, obviously black is forced to play queen takes rook on b3. And then what do you notice about that position now? We still have the queen on b3. And we have this bishop on b7. How can white take advantage of that? Pause the video, see if you can find the move in that situation. Try to visualize it. Hopefully you were able to find this skewer where the rook on a2 is going to slide over to b2 and attack the queen on b3. And when the queen moves, we'll be attacking this bishop on b7. These are always the same kinds of tactical opportunities we want to look for in games. And then we simply come up and capture this bishop, and we've won a piece and should probably win the game. All right, let's do one more problem here, and then we will conclude this lesson for today for problem solving. Hopefully this was able to help you out a little bit. Okay, white plays queen to g3. And we are trying to figure out a series of moves here where we can possibly win material. Nothing is striking me about being crazy about white's position here. So let me walk you through my thought process here. So first of all, white's pieces all seem to be, doing fairly well. This knight on e2 has no defenders, so that's clearly something that I'm looking at. Okay? Nothing else seems to really be in any danger, except one of the things I always look for, especially with a queen, is I'm going to look, one thing you'll notice about the queen right now is the queen doesn't have a ton of mobility. So I'm always kind of considering pieces, and especially the queens I'm looking at, to see, hey, how many squares can this queen actually move to? And if you'll notice right now, this square is attacked, this square is attacked, this square is attacked, this square is attacked. So right now, the white queen only has these two squares where the queen can retreat to. We really want to be careful about our pieces, and especially our queen, when we move it somewhere, to make sure that it's not going to get trapped. Trapping pieces, this is definitely it's not a thing that beginners look for in general to see if a piece is trapped. But certainly, as we want to get better in chess, we want to start to look for these ideas. And obviously, with the queen, we always want to see if, like, hey, is our opponent's queen? Can we trap it? Can we have it? Can we stop it from moving anywhere? So see if you can find the move that's going to attack the queen and also attack those two squares. Hopefully you're able to find this bishop moving to h4. And we'll see that the white queen, actually, if you back up, the white queen has nowhere it can move to. Amazing, the queen was already trapped with this simple move, and we're able to win the queen in one move. So we will stop there for today. Hopefully you guys were able to take a look at the thinking about how we can try to solve problems and get better at solving problems, and hopefully start to find some of these moves when we're playing games. We'll see you guys later.